the movement of the boat that carried Nolan Wells to Horn Island over the 4th of July weekend.
On 16 July, 12 days after Nolan Wells disappeared, the Jackson County Sheriff put a number on this investigation. More than 60 witnesses interviewed. 60, in a case that a great deal of the internet describes as one where nobody is doing anything. And in the same remarks, Sheriff John Ledbetter explained the part that has driven a month of theories: why the FBI is here at all. His answer was not that the Bureau had found something, it was that Horn Island sits on federal land, and his office works with the FBI often. So this video sets what the sheriff actually said against what was built on top of it. Nobody has been charged. Police have not named a suspect. So what does the official record actually establish? Let's put it on the table, because it's a shorter list than the internet has built. Nolan Wells was 18 years old. On the 4th of July, he went on a boat trip to Horn Island, Mississippi. He disappeared during that trip, and his body was recovered 2 days later, on the 6th, according to the timeline reported by CNN and WLOX. 2 days between disappearance and recovery. That's confirmed. That's the frame. Now the confirmed detail around it. State GPS data from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, obtained by CBS News, shows the boat left Horn Island at approximately 4:31 in the afternoon, a timestamp from state equipment. The boat that Nolan was on recorded leaving the island at 4:31. That's confirmed. Now hold that number, because there's another one sitting right beside it. A report from the United Cajun Navy, a volunteer search organization, not law enforcement, whose findings are not official, places Nolan's last independently verified sighting between 3:23 and 4:27 in the afternoon. That report came through TMZ, and it is not an official finding, but it is the number that everyone keeps coming back to. Read those two numbers carefully, because they are a range, not a point. If he was seen at the very end of that window, 4 minutes separate it from the boat leaving. If he was seen at the start of it, the distance is 68. Nothing in the public record narrows it further. And then there's the call. On the 4th, someone contacted a private marine towing company to report a boat off Horn Island taking on water after its bilge pump failed. Mississippi authorities released that recording, per the Department of Marine Resources via PBS NewsHour. A boat taking on water. A failed bilge pump. Those are the words on the official record, released by the state. Now the autopsies. There are 2 of them, and they tell different stories. The state's official autopsy was completed by July 31st, per WLBT. Its results have not been made public. They are going to a grand jury. The family's independent examination, completed in late July, per ABC News and CNN, concluded with a cause and manner of death listed as undetermined pending investigation. In plain words, the examiners could not establish a cause, not yet. 2 autopsies. One says undetermined, pending investigation. The other is sealed, headed to a grand jury. And the district attorney, Angel Myers McElrath, has called the case a priority, per the Sun Herald, with findings going to a grand jury when the investigation concludes. A grand jury. That's a procedural step, a panel that reviews evidence and decides whether charges are warranted. It is not a finding. It is not an accusation. It is the next step on the record. And here's what's confirmed on the people side. The 3 friends who were on the boat with Nolan, the sheriff confirmed they've been interviewed, per LoX. Interviewed. That's what witnesses are. It is not an accusation. Now here's the part where confirmed gets strange, because some things circulating are confirmed to be false. What was circulating as a toxicology report was fraudulent, the state's commissioner said via WLBT. Fake, not real. It does not exist on the official record. And a forensic expert speaking to News Nation said, the enhanced version of the released distress call, the one being shared and dissected online, could not be verified. Whatever that audio appears to show, it is not confirmed. So add it up. The confirmed record is this: a timeline, a GPS stamp, a distress call, 2 autopsies with different outcomes, a grand jury referral, and no charges. That's the official record, and it is thin. State officials ask through Newsweek that people stop settling this in public before the work is finished. The warning officials gave per Newsweek was not vague. Speculation can make the remaining work harder. But the official record has a hole in it. It cannot tell you what happened between that last verified sighting and the call to the towing company. And it cannot explain why, in the days after Nolan's body was recovered, the people who were on that boat began receiving death threats, and why the FBI is now investigating those threats as its own case. That's where this stops being about what happened on Horn Island. That's next. And that's where this case splits in two. On one side, the official record, what the sheriff's office confirms, what the DA puts before a grand jury. On the other side, everything circulating online that isn't confirmed. And in this case, that gap is wide. Let's walk through what's actually out there. The distress call is real. Mississippi authorities released it, according to the Department of Marine Resources via PBS NewsHour. It's a call to a private marine towing company on July 4th. A boat off Horn Island is taking on water. The bilge pump failed. That recording exists. It is on the record. But then there's the enhanced version, the one being dissected frame by frame. A forensic expert speaking to News Nation said the enhanced audio could not be verified. Whatever people are hearing in that version, a voice, a phrase, a sound, it is not confirmed. It is not evidence on the record. And the toxicology report, you've seen it. It's been circulating on social media for days. Mississippi Public Safety Commissioner Sean Tindell, per the Department of Public Safety via WLBT, warned that it is fraudulent, fake. It does not exist on the official record. It has no bearing on this case. Now, the United Cajun Navy report. This one is trickier because it's often cited as a source. Volunteers produced that report, not investigators, and the group says so about its own document. They are not law enforcement. Their report is not an official finding. The volunteers put the verifiable window between 3:23 and 4:27, according to TMZ. That's a window. A little over an hour. That's what's in the report. But here's the thing about that number. It's not a finding of what happened. It's a statement of what could not be verified. The last confirmed sighting. CBS News has the state's tracking for that vessel. It clears the island at roughly 4:31. So put those side by side. Last verified sighting. Between 3:23 and 4:27. Boat departs. 4:31. The gap between that last sighting and the departure is small. Minutes, possibly. And then the call to the towing company, the bilge pump failure, comes after that. Now that timeline, it's tight, and it's confirmed. But what fills the gaps, what happened between that last verified sighting and the boat leaving, is not on the record. Not from the sheriff, not from the DA, not from any official source. And that's where the speculation lives. That's where the theories live. The ones Mississippi officials, per Newsweek, have urged the public not to rush to. The ones they warned could hinder the investigation. So here's what's confirmed. The distress call exists. The timeline has a shape. The autopsies have different outcomes. No one is charged. And here's what is not confirmed. The enhanced audio. The toxicology report. Any narrative that fills that hour with a specific event. But there is one thing that is confirmed, and it is the strangest thing of all. The people who were on that boat with Nolan, the witnesses, have reported death threats and online harassment, and one of them has had a lawyer put a written demand to stop, per WWL, ABC News, and TheGrio. Think about that. No charges, no named suspects. A case still under investigation. And yet the people who were interviewed as witnesses are receiving death threats. And the FBI, the same agency assisting with digital evidence, has opened an investigation into those threats. Against the witnesses, against officials working the case. So who's threatening them? And why now? That investigation is running parallel to the one on Horn Island, and it might be the one that tells us more. But while that investigation runs, the public has been consuming something else. Two things, mostly. And both of them traveled as if they were official. The first was the audio, the distress call, the one Mississippi authorities released, the July 4th call to a private marine towing company, per the Department of Marine Resources via PBS NewsHour. A boat off Horn Island taking on water after its bilge pump failed. That's what the recording actually contains. But then came an enhanced version, circulating on social media. And according to News Nation, A forensic expert said that enhanced version could not be verified. Not that it was fake necessarily, that it couldn't be verified. There's a difference, and the difference matters. Because people were sharing the enhanced version as if it were the recording itself, as if it were proof. The second was the toxicology report, a purported report, circulating online, and Mississippi Public Safety Commissioner Sean Tyndall, per the Department of Public Safety via WLBT, warned it is fraudulent. Not unverified, fraudulent, meaning it isn't what it claims to be. And yet, by the time that warning came, the report had already done its work, screenshotted, shared, turned into a narrative. Now here's where the two got mixed. There are two autopsies in this case. The official state autopsy, completed by July 31st, per Walt T. Its results not public, going to a grand jury. Their pathologist could not state a cause or a manner, according to CNN and ABC News. Those are two different documents, two different processes, but in the public conversation, they got flattened into one. People started treating the independent autopsies undetermined, as if it were the official finding, and people started treating the sealed official results as if they contained something hidden. Let me be precise here. The state autopsy's results have not been made public. That's a fact. They are going to a grand jury. That's a fact. What that means, whether the results support a charge, whether they're inconclusive, whether they contradict the independent one, is not on the record. No one has said. Not a single charge has been filed, according to NOLA.com. The case remains under investigation by the Sheriff's Department and the FBI. So when you see a post claiming the official autopsy proves something, or the enhanced audio reveals something, or the toxicology report confirms something, you are looking at a claim without a verified source behind it. And that's the thing Mississippi officials, per Newsweek, have been trying to stop. They urged the public not to rush to conclusions. Officials went public through Newsweek with a request to slow down, and said why. Not because they're hiding something, because the speculation is actively interfering. And you can see the interference. The witnesses, the three friends who were on the boat with Nolan, have reported death threats and online harassment, per WWL, TheGrio, and ABC News. One friend's attorney has sent a cease and desist letter. The FBI is investigating threats against the people who were with Nolan in the hours before he vanished, and against officials working the case, per LiveNOW from Fox. So the misinformation loop looks like this. An unverified clip spreads. It gets treated as evidence. People who are named in the narrative, or just associated with the boat, get targeted. The threats get serious enough that the FBI opens a second investigation. And the first investigation, the one about what happened on Horn Island, gets harder to run. Every fake report, every doctored clip, every unverified claim makes the actual investigation slower, not faster. And the strangest part, the two autopsies, the official and the independent, might agree, or they might not. No one outside the grand jury knows. But the public has already decided, based on documents most people have never read. And there is a reason the FBI is on this at all, a reason the sheriff put on the record himself. It is not about the clips. It is not about the theories. It is about where Horn Island sits and who owns that ground. Said plainly, in his own words, it is a great deal more boring than what has been built on top of it. So let's take stock of what we actually know. Not what the clips claim, not what the posts assume, what's on the record. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office, per WLOX, has interviewed more than 60 witnesses. 60, in a case where the central event happened on a boat with 4 people. That's a wide net. And Sheriff John Ledbetter put the FBI's involvement on the record himself. He said the Bureau is assisting with examination of digital evidence and that this is not out of the ordinary, because Horn Island is on federal land. Now the timeline. The confirmed one. Per CBS News, GPS data from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources shows the boat left Horn Island at approximately 4:31 p.m. on the 4th of July. Everything before 4:27 can be checked. Nothing after it can, per the report obtained by TMZ. Do the math. The boat left at 4:31. His last verified sighting was before 4:27. That's a window of roughly 4 minutes between the last time someone can confirm seeing him and the boat leaving the island. 4 minutes. That's not a theory, that's arithmetic. And then there's the call. Mississippi authorities released a recording of a July 4th call to a private marine towing company, a boat off Horn Island taking on water after its bilge pump failed, per the Department of Marine Resources via PBS NewsHour. So here's what the confirmed record supports. 4 people went to Horn Island. The boat left at 4:31. Before it left, between 3:23 and 4:27, Nolan was last seen. And at some point, a call went out about a boat taking on water because a bilge pump failed. Now here's where the confirmed record gets quiet. We know the 3 friends who were on the boat have been interviewed. Ledbetter confirmed that, per LoX, we know they've reported death threats and online harassment, and one friend's attorney sent a cease and desist letter, per WWL, TheGrio and ABC News. We know the FBI is investigating threats against them and against officials working the case, per LiveNOW from Fox. But we do not know what they told investigators. We do not know what the GPS data shows beyond the departure time. We do not know who made that call about the bilge pump, or when, or what was said beyond the summary released. And we do not know what the state autopsy found. Per WLBT, it was completed by July 31st. Its results have not been made public. They are going to a grand jury. The district attorney, Angel Myers McIlrath, has called the case a priority. Findings will be presented to a grand jury when the investigation concludes. That's a procedural statement. It's what a DA says when a case is active. It is not a statement about guilt. No prosecution has been brought against anyone, per NPR and CNN. So what does the confirmed set actually imply? It implies an investigation that is still running. An investigation with 60-plus witness interviews, federal assistance, a grand jury referral pending, and 2 autopsies that have not been reconciled in public. It implies that the last verified moment of Nolan Wells' life came on that island, in that 4-minute window, before a boat with a failing bilge pump left the shore. And it implies that a lot of work has been done that the public has not seen. 60-plus interviews produce material. None of it has been released, and none of it is ours to guess at. But here's what's strange. The sheriff's office has interviewed more than 60 witnesses. In a case with 4 people on a boat and a body found 2 days later, 60 witnesses is a lot. That's not a small circle. That's a wide one. And the sheriff said the FBI's involvement is not out of the ordinary, because Horn Island is federal land. That is the whole of what he said about it. He did not say the Bureau had found something, and he did not say the case had been taken over. He said where the island sits and who his office normally works with. Everything beyond that has been added by other people. And it is worth separating 2 things that keep getting collapsed into one. The FBI is assisting with digital evidence, and the sheriff called that ordinary. The FBI is also, according to LiveNOW from Fox, investigating threats made against the people who were with Nolan and against officials working the case. Those are 2 different pieces of work. The second one exists because of what has been happening online since July, not because of anything found on Horn Island. Horn Island, federal land, an ordinary working arrangement, in the sheriff's own account, and separately, a threats investigation that only exists because this case went the way it did in public. Because the FBI does not investigate threats against witnesses as a side project. Per LiveNOW from Fox, the FBI is investigating threats against the people who were with Nolan Wells in the hours before he vanished, and against officials working the case. That's not digital evidence examination. That's a separate, active federal investigation into intimidation. So the question becomes, who is threatening witnesses in a case where no one has been charged? Threats have been directed at the people who were there, per WWL, TheGrio and ABC News. One friend's attorney has sent a cease and desist letter. These are young people, they were on a boat on July 4th, and now they're getting death threats. Mississippi officials have urged the public not to rush to conclusions. Per Newsweek, they warned that social media speculation could hinder the investigation. That warning came in July. A state official went on the record through WLBT to call a circulating lab report fake, fraudulent, not inaccurate, not misleading, fraudulent. So here's the confirmed set. The sheriff's office has interviewed more than 60 witnesses. The FBI is examining digital evidence. The FBI is investigating threats. The state autopsy is complete. per Welt, and going to a grand jury. The independent autopsy commissioned by the family returned undetermined pending investigation. No one has been charged. The case remains open. And the open questions are not small ones. We do not know what the GPS data shows beyond the departure time. Per CBS News, the boat left Horn Island at approximately 4:31 p.m. That's from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources. But the GPS data, the full track, the speed, the route, has not been released. We do not know if the boat stopped. We do not know if it circled. We do not know if it went straight back. We do not know who called the private marine towing company. Per the Department of Marine Resources via PBS NewsHour, the call reported a boat off Horn Island taking on water after its bilge pump failed. That call exists. It was released. But the caller's identity has not been made public, and we do not know what the enhanced version of that recording shows. Per News Nation, a forensic expert said the enhanced version could not be verified. We do not know what the state autopsy found. Completed by July 31st, per WellBT. Results not public. Going to a grand jury. The independent autopsy, commissioned by the family, returned undetermined pending investigation. 2 autopsies, 2 findings. 1 public, 1 sealed. And we do not know what the 3 friends told investigators. The sheriff confirmed they've been interviewed. That's all. So the case against the confirmed record is simple. There are 4 people on a boat. 1 dies. 3 are interviewed. More than 60 witnesses are interviewed. GPS data exists but hasn't been fully released. A distress call exists but hasn't been fully explained. 2 autopsies exist but haven't been reconciled. A grand jury is coming, and no one has been charged. Here's what that means for you, following this case. Every theory you've seen online, every version of what happened on Horn Island, is running ahead of the record. The record is narrower. The record is slower. And the record is being built by people who are not talking to you. And there is one person for whom none of this is a case at all, who is not a witness to be interviewed, not a name to be argued over online, who has been left holding the only thing this case has produced so far, an undetermined cause of death. Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, commissioned that independent autopsy. She wanted answers. She got a phrase instead, undetermined pending investigation. That's what she's holding. That's where this case leaves her, waiting on a grand jury, waiting on a state autopsy, waiting on the FBI, waiting for someone to be able to tell her what happened to her son. And in the middle of all that waiting, she has watched strangers on the internet turn her son's death into a war with death threats, a war with fraudulent documents, a war that her son's friends are now living inside. The sheriff says the FBI is here because Horn Island is federal land. That's the official explanation. But the FBI is also here for the threats, and those 2 investigations, the routine one and the separate one, are running side by side. The last independently verified sighting of Nolan Wells falls between 3:23 and 4:27 on July 4th. On an island, on a holiday, on a day the coverage describes as busy, before a boat with a failing bilge pump left the shore. 60 witnesses, 2 autopsies, 1 grand jury, 0 charges, and 1 mother who still doesn't know what happened to her son.